Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to give it 1 or 2 more minutes just to make sure people can get on. But for now, we're just going to hold. Something I love to do is just start shouting out in the chat where you're calling in from. I love to see our national and global contingent. So if you could pop into the chat there on the right, should be the first button, and say hello from wherever you are. UK, awesome. Hi, Conchita. Hi, Sebastian from Sweden. Excellent. We already have, hey, Chris, Tiffany. Nice to meet you. Awesome. Here we go. Ireland, Salt Lake City, Maryland, Burlington, Kentucky. Hello from Boston. Hi, everybody. All right. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. Welcome to our active customers, our prospective customers, our active partners, our prospective partners. We have lots of different folks joining us today from clearly all over the world. And yes, chilly Boston, where I'm located. This is the first edition of Patrick's Product Picks, where we will take a deep dive into specific functionality of the Skedda space management platform. So we did get some feedback before that our last demo was very broad. So every now and again, we're going to start really taking some deep dives for you all so that we can get really into the nitty gritty of our functionality. So hello, I'm Jenny Mobius. I'm an SVP at Skedda and your host today. And Patrick, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, how you doing, folks? I'm Patrick. I'm originally from Ireland, but I'm based in Vienna, Austria, which is also quite chilly at the moment. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Excellent. All right. Just a reminder to you all, there is a Q&A button as well. If you have questions, please pop them in there. At the end of our show, I shouldn't call it a show. At the end of our product demo, we will jump into the Q&A and answer your questions. We also have the chat, which we've all already found. We may have a few polls coming at you just to make sure you're still there with us. So we're going to kick it off with a quick 45-second video. I think we all have such short attention spans today, but it's a 45-second video. And Emily, please go ahead and play that.
Hybrid workplaces can get a bit chaotic without the right technology to manage your space. Not with Skedda. Our rule system keeps things running smoothly, so you can get your best work done. Book a desk, a meeting room, a parking spot, or even a spot to park your pup. Bring order to chaos with Skedda's workplace management platform.
Thank you, Emily. I love to kick things off with a shot of oxytocin. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are. Gotta love the puppies. All right, let's get into where we've been and why we're here today. So the modern workplace, it's evolving every single day. It really doesn't stay the same for very long. Pre-2020 norms, traditional office-centric work models, right? We came into the office 5 days a week. We had fully assigned desks, and we had very little need for space management technologies or a way to share resources in an efficient and productive way. Then we hit the pandemic disruption. We're all familiar with this. Remote work became the default, reshaping productivity norms. There was the rise of video conferencing, as we still partake in today, all those benefits. And we started to have autonomy over our individual workspace or location. Fast forward to today, the post-pandemic reality, hybrid models are dominating. Nearly 70% of US companies and 75% of the Fortune 100 now offer some degree of work location flexibility for corporate employees. And that is a stat from the Flex Index. Research shows that hybrid work drives higher engagement, employee retention, and economic return. Accenture came out with a stat as well that said 63% of high revenue growth companies are more likely to embrace hybrid work. However, as the workplace continues to evolve, we are starting to see some return to work and some return to work for 5 days a week, and that's around 30%. We are also seeing that strict return to work mandates correlate with increased turnover. The bottom line is that flexibility remains a competitive advantage. However, there will be populations of employees that are hybrid, and other populations of employees that are fully in the office. So it's important to be set up with the right technology that evolves with your workforce's changing needs. So what are some examples of these changing needs? I'll go to the next slide here. Think of a space as any shareable resource within your organization. And we're going to get more into this. But you've got your desks, obviously. Hot desking, also known as desk hoteling, right? A way to reserve your desks flexibly and easily because there are usually more people than desks at the moment. The other way is to look at it is to have assigned seating. So some people will have hot desks, some people will have assigned seating. We've got meeting rooms that are shared, parking spots that are shared, labs, and we do a fun play on words here. It's also labs as in your lab equipment and your biology labs, but also your furry friends labs where some offices are allowing you to bring your dog to work, right? These are all the shared spaces that we're currently seeing, and some very creative uses like booking times with robots, and I'll get more into that as well. The takeaway here is not to limit your definition of a bookable space. The employee experience is critical to getting folks to the office and making sure that they can book exactly what they need to be productive that day before they even enter the door will significantly boost that experience. Case in point here. Brown Bag Films. Shout out to Brown Bag. I believe Aiden is actually on this call. Hello, Aiden. It's a creative-led animation studio based in Dublin, Ireland. They've produced some of the most well-known children's animated shows and films seen by millions of kids worldwide, including The Octonauts, which was one of my kids' favorites, and Peter Rabbit. They employ hundreds of animators, editors, and producers who make the magic come to life. So for Brown Bag, 90% of their desks are spaces that are available as shared spaces, and they realize they need a system to manage this. One that allowed for different types of users and spaces. Because in addition to animators and creatives, they also have business and administrative teams whose needs are extremely different. They also have employees whose work equipment varies from, what I have today, which is a standard 2 monitors with a keyboard and a mouse, all the way to a drawing table with an A4 drawing pad and a color calibrated monitor. Brown Bag uses over 20 different user tags to identify a certain user's desk requirements. For example, only users who have the user tag post can book desks equipped with post-production editing hardware. And only the users with the tag finance can book desks in a private room that allows a team to talk through sensitive topics. The system allows team members to hit the ground running with all the equipment they need wherever they choose to work, making productivity soar. So thanks again, Aiden, for sharing your story with us. Last story here, and then we'll move on to our beloved onboarding manager, Patrick. On the outskirts of Edinburgh, Scotland, the National Robotarium provides a modern facility dedicated to expanding the robotics footprint in the UK. The organization operates as both a research and learning center, as well as an incubator for exciting new startups in the robotics space. At any given time, they have scientific experts, robot engineers and technicians, project and business managers, startup founders, and visitors, all sharing the same space. So what do they need? They needed a solution, just like Brown Bag Films, for different types of users and spaces to help manage who is approved to book hot desks, labs, and access certain tools and machinery like their robots. For example, only a subset of the Robotarium's employees have the technical skills required to use the engineering labs, so an engineering team tag is required to book those. In this case, spaces are simply much more than meeting rooms and desks. They include specialty printers, labs, tour bookings, and robots. That there is one of the most sophisticated humanoid robots. Her name is Amika. I actually had her on my podcast a couple weeks ago. It was an excellent experience. But for both customers, the Insights panel allows them to track workspace analytics over time to ensure space decisions are based on building occupancy and space utilization. For the Robotarium, these critical insights provide investors with updates on how the building is being used to help them see their return on investment. All right. Thanks for listening to kind of the market trends and how our technology fits into it and these great stories. I'll now pass it over to the star of our show, Patrick Cassidy, to dive into how Skedda simplifies and optimizes how you manage your creative spaces and resources using our new space attributes functionality. Thanks, everybody. Take it away, Patrick.
Okay, thanks very much, Jenny. So yeah, again, hey folks, I've been here nearly 4 years now. So as Jenny kind of laid out, in that time, we've gone through COVID. We have seen all kinds of changes to how people have changed their office outlook, how people are actually working. So the idea today is for me to just show you a couple of examples of how you can design your office, both visually and also create some rules to allow people to book specific resources. So to begin with, as we look at this map, this is kind of a classic, typical office layout. It's very visually arresting. There are legends on the left-hand side here that split into different areas and desk resources. So to just give you a quick example of what's happening here, we can see that Immerse, it's not for a specific team. It's for people who are coming in and not making calls. They're just coming in to sit and use the desk. If you're making calls, you'd instead sit in the blue area, Engage, sales and marketing teams making calls all day long. And the collaboration area would be the meeting rooms down here. And then separately, there are resources on different desks. So some desks are standing desks. Other desks have dual monitors. And if I click on a specific desk, that information can either be relayed here with text at the bottom, or alternatively, you can upload a picture showing that space. So when somebody clicks on it, not only is it visually arresting here, but they can see it in the booking form itself. In addition to this, with our new space attributes feature in the top right-hand corner here, if I click on space tags, as an admin in the back end, which I'll show you in a while, you can create these. So if I can indeed look here and see which of these are dual monitors. To simplify it further as an end user, I can come in and click on dual monitor, and then that then grays out any space that doesn't have that resource attached to it, making it simpler and easier for me to search for that. If I'm then searching for a standing desk and dual monitor, I can click on this, and then it will reduce it down further to just those spaces. For those of you who've never used Skedda before, let me just quickly demonstrate how you make a booking. So there is this particular map here, but if I click on Dublin office, I can see that there's a list of other maps. For those of you not familiar with Irish geography, Galway and Dublin are not in the same city. However, they can both be in the same location, and using tags in the back end, we can then limit who can book what if you so want. But let's imagine I do want to book in the Dublin office, and I'm looking for a dual monitor. I can select this. I then decide I want to come in tomorrow, Thursday the 6th, and then I can select the time of day that I want to make a booking. As I move through the day, I'll see that certain spaces become available and others are unavailable, so they'll have names over them. If I hover over it, I can see who's sitting there. I can then select the desk I want, and this will open a booking form here where I can again change the start or the beginning and end time if I want. And I can just click confirm booking. It's as straightforward as that. I will receive an email immediately letting me know I have the booking. Alternatively, another way to set up your spaces for booking, rather than have to select the start and end time for desks, I can click the desk and it will automatically populate 9 to 5, a normal working day, and I can click confirm booking. So three clicks and you're booked. Whether you want full flexibility or you want just simple ease of use, either is possible to set up. So this is on a map where it's very obvious visually through a legend where things are. If in the Dublin office, the decision had been made where you didn't want the legend, here I don't actually know immediately what resources are on what space. So here, if I use the space tags and select dual monitor, it becomes even more apparent where it is that I want to sit. So usually we do encourage people to set up their offices with some sort of a legend if they do have different resources or departments. But if you're not that way inclined, or you have resources that are going to change very frequently, or that you don't want displayed in a legend, that's where the tags really come into play and make it very straightforward for the end user to know where they're booking. Thanks very much, Eva. In addition, if we have somewhere like the Galway floor plan here, again, it's clear where things are in terms of the legend. But if I'm looking for a meeting room, now that we've gone to a slightly bigger map, it's not immediately obvious where all of the meeting rooms are. So if I click on space tags and I select Galway meeting rooms, here it quickly filters out all of the spaces that are just desks and not meeting rooms, and allows me to then decide where it is I want to book. And again, it'll confirm here when I click that it is indeed a meeting room. And then when I click to book in a meeting room, it's the same setup as before, where I can just come in, decide the start and end time, and then confirm this booking. In addition, if you use either Microsoft or Google and you want to book a meeting room, we have the possibility of connecting this to either a one-way or a two-way sync. So if someone clicks into the meeting room, here it's going to sync with my Microsoft calendar. And then if I start to search for users within our directory, it's going to populate this with the person who I can invite, and I can confirm this booking. This is going to go into both my calendar and the calendar of the person I've invited immediately. Okay, so some other fun uses for our attributes. Here, as Jenny explained, we were not limited to just desks or the meeting rooms. There's all sorts of different utilization we can use here. So here is lab equipment. This is just one method you could use as a map. Alternatively, you could have an office like the Galway office, and you could put your equipment labeled into any of the rooms. We're basically open to any kind of setup that people want. And you can click into them. And again, you can have a picture of this. And within this, then you can have additional information. If somebody is responsible for the maintenance of this equipment, that information can be contained in there. And then people can continue into the booking form. And it's the same process. So the actual process of booking any type of space is the same. So this is the first master that this serves, the end user. And here's one of two car park types, just to give you a sense. I don't want to overload you with different types of maps, but here's one car park space. If you really knew the layout of your space, alternatively, you could have something like this, where let's say your cars are across 5 or 6 different levels. You just have a limited number of them. You can, again, just set it up like this. And then if I wanted to know where an EV car was, like an electric car, I could use the space tags to filter for these. And then when I click to book this, it will then show me that this is indeed for one of those types of cars. So this is the end user experience, coming in and making it very straightforward and clear how to book a specific type of resource. The other master that this serves is you as an admin. So I'm just going to jump in now to the backend portal. So I'm now an admin on this account, not an end user anymore. And you'll see that I have all these settings bars on the left-hand side. So if I come into the insights here, this is where the space tags will start to be very, very useful. So we can begin by having all of the utilization up. So here we can see the utilization of all of those spaces, and I can decide and determine what range I want to look at this in. So if I only want to look at last week, I can pull this information up. And then depending on what area you're responsible for, or for what reason you're looking at this, you can then start to incrementalize the spaces that you're looking at. So this is where we'll use the space tags again. So if you're only interested in knowing how many of the Dublin meeting rooms were used in the last week or month, you can pull this up. And this can be useful for all sorts of reasons. Perhaps you're curious about like just your general leasing, and you want to know how many of these desks are actually being used. Or we have determined that only a specific user group should be able to book these. You can then see, okay, how many of these people with a specific tag, so let's say the IT team, are booking into the meeting rooms or booking into specific groups of desks. If you're finding that their utilization is quite low, it means you can tweak your rules and open it up to other people. But this insights page is very visual. It gives you very clear overview of the time of week that it's utilized, the kind of timeline over that period of time in which it was used, all very colorful, and the users here as well. And a note on this, and for any future people who are going to be watching this, we are committed to constantly updating all of our settings. And Insights is one that's on the roadmap right now that we're actively working on. So if you're looking at this in a month, this will probably be even more expanded. There'll be more settings for you to look at here. One note on this, on searching through your utilization, and I want to give a very black and white rule here. If you're looking at this utilization number of particular groups of spaces, it's important to kind of understand why you want to know that utilization number. And then to also be aware of your hours that you're looking at. So currently, when you look at the insights, this is driven by another setting in here, your hours of availability. Now, it's not unusual for a lot of companies to allow people to book from 6 a.m. right up till 10 p.m. But what you might find when you look at the insights is that the vast majority of people are actually booking within normal working hours, which is 9 to 5. So the way to actually break this up and look specifically at those hours, so we go from a utilization of 39% here. And if I come into the hours of availability and just tweak this for now, and I bring this to 9 to 5, we'll see that this number drastically changes. So if I come back in and look here again, it's gone up to 48%. And actually, I haven't pulled it down enough to 5 p.m. And I look again, I can see now it's jumped right up. And then if I again incrementalize it and I want to look at a specific area, so I only want to look at the desks, how much are they being used? I start to get a sense of how much people are actually booking these, and then I can do it by a specific tag. So the space attributes and tags are there to allow you to make it easy for your end users to wayfind and know the resources they're booking, but then importantly for you on the back end to be able to quickly and easily pull reports by literally 2 or 3 clicks. You're able to see more things that you can book, or see the reports on how many resources people are booking. The other thing that I wanted to touch on was who can book where. So if I come down to the Galway office here, currently I'm not allowed to book any of these spaces. They're all gray. That's because these have been denoted specifically for the finance team. You can have a black and white rule where you can basically say, if you're not in that team, you're not allowed to book those spaces at any time. However, it's also possible to give priority to certain spaces. So the marketing team here, they may be allowed to book this area for the next 3 months. Anybody else basically can use it as a spillover if their area is full or it's a day that the marketing team doesn't work. So if the marketing team has Monday, Wednesday, Thursday working days, people can book there on a Tuesday or Friday, for example. So if today being the 5th, I go to next week and I attempt to book this space, I'm going to run into an error here. It's going to basically tell me I'm not allowed to book it because it goes beyond a 3-day notice period. Essentially, we've created a priority rule. So if the marketing team haven't booked it within 3 days, I'm allowed to book it. So if I pull it back to this week, let's imagine that the sales team area is completely full, but I want to come in tomorrow. It is now fair game for me to be able to click in here, and I don't have an error message here. I can come in and I can confirm this booking. So this is kind of a 2-stroke approach. You can either have a black and white rule where people are not allowed to book, or you can make a priority rule where people are allowed to book it just within a specific time frame. Okay, how you create these rules and what it actually looks like for the admin, let me just kind of briefly show you with regards to the space attributes. In your settings, in spaces and attributes, you have the ability to create 3 different types of attributes. You have the space tags, which is what I've shown here in the top right-hand corner. This is a way for people to filter, and it's also what you'll be able to pull in your reports. Then the second type is capacity, which you can see here, and you can just put a number. So if you've got a boardroom with 14 people, it will look like this to the end user. When they come in to book one of these spaces, there will be a tag on this that will say how many people are actually allowed to sit in there. So that's the other attribute. And then the final one is the type. So that is when, as Jenny showed us, sometimes we have furry friends in the office. And this was something that a customer of ours reached out and wanted. They wanted something to denote where people could bring their dogs and sit in the office. So if I click on this particular space and it opens the booking form, it says that it's dog friendly. It's shown by the picture here, but then I can actually see it confirmed on this particular booking form. And this is controlled in here in your space type, and I can put in a dog friendly area. So there's 2 currently. So these are the types. The key to remember here is The space tags are what the users will use to filter and search resources. And then the capacity and type appear in the booking form, but are not, they're not filterable. They're not something that when you're actually looking at the map, you'll see here. They will appear more directly here, either through the type that you've selected or the capacity when you click on a meeting room or something like this. The final thing, what I wanted to end on, is something quite new. And if I hover over this booking, I can see the person who's made that booking on that day. If I hover over one of these that has a little kind of lock on it, I can see that it says assigned space. So this is a user who has that space every day. And as an admin, you can control these again in the space. So if I come in and I go to create a new space, I can decide whether it's either an assigned space or a bookable space. And I can add in, for example, here, and it will then be created and it will have that particular type associated with it. Alternatively, I can go to an existing space and I can just decide if I want to change it to an assigned space. In order to do so, I just need to confirm that that's okay by copying and pasting in the desk number. And then I can assign it to a specific person. So then they will appear on the map and they will have that space every single day. So we're excited about that. That's just another space type that you can add in. So that's the majority of everything I wanted to run through today, but I am curious and excited to see what questions come up. So please let me know if there's anything I can answer or clarify.
Thank you so much, Patrick. That was super helpful to see both the end user experience and the admin experience. I think that was wonderful. Thank you. There is one question. Yep, please have a drink of water. Are there any limits to the number of attributes I can add to a space or group of spaces?
There is a limit on the type of space that you can give. So when I come into either the type, capacity, or space tags, there isn't a limit on the amount of space tags. So if I come in and I'm looking here and I want to see what is a standing desk, I can see all of these that are standing desks, but they can also be grouped within the standing and dual monitor as well. So they can be part of multiple types, but with capacity and the actual type of space it can only be one. Capacity, obviously, because you can only have a specific capacity amount.
Thank you. All right, I see another one coming through. What other Skedda features would you like us to highlight in future virtual events? Oh, that's a, sorry, that's a poll. I was like, hold on a second. That's not a question. I got the questions confused. So let's see. All right. Are there any other questions? We are just about at time. All right. Well, if you do have any questions, you know where to find us. Please let us know. And we will certainly get to every question that comes through the tool or through anything else. But thank you so much for joining us today. We will definitely get back to you if we didn't get to your question. And Patrick, thanks again for the demo. This was excellent. And
my pleasure.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And thank you again for joining us. Again, go to Skedda.com if you are interested in a demo or a trial. You can have a 30-day trial or request a demo and speak to someone immediately. I know some of you have account managers. So if you have any questions at all, we're all standing by. Thank you.